Hey guys, I hope you're doing really well this week. This is one of a number of Lenovo motherboards that I got. I bought them secondhand, and they are all meant to have motherboard faults. Now, I don't have the full laptops with some of them, which is why I can't really show you, me pressing the power button and it not coming on. But I've taken the power button, plugged it in, pressed the button, and nothing is happening. There's no LEDs on it. So what I'm going to do is just troubleshoot this in the usual way. What I'm trying to do on the site is not to, troubleshoot the same fault in every video, so I'm going to try not to repeat. I think there's something worth learning from this one, so that's the reason I'm going to do this one here today. So, same way that we normally do, we start where the voltage enters the laptop, which is here. Alright, so you can see from the image that I took, our power comes in on a cable here, and on the one here, and this is where we're going to start troubleshooting. We're going to change our multimeter to volts DC and start checking to see, first of all, that our power adapter is working and we've got 20 volts coming into this. And then we're going to follow the 20 volts into the motherboard and see why we're not getting any power light. So as usual, when measuring voltages in DC, we switch our multimeter to 20 volt range. Okay. And with our multimeter in volts DC in a 20 volt range, we place our black probe to ground, which I'm choosing to pick as one of these, which connects to these black wires here. So I'm going to use this as my ground. And we're going to start taking some measurements with our red probe. So I've zoomed in as close as I can on this so that you can see everything that I'm seeing. So with my red probe, I place it to this point right here. And I find that there's 20.44 volts at this point. Now obviously that's what that tells me is that my power adapter is working and there's no issue with my DC jack because we're getting our power onto the motherboard. So 20.44 at this point, and we're going to move on to the fuse next. Next we have our input fuse, which is PF101. You can see it right here. So we need to check here. And when I place my probe at this point, I find that we have 20.44 here also. So let me just mark that in as well. So we're good to this point here. And similar to the last Lenovo that we looked at, they all seem to have these two inductors in series. It comes in to the motherboard, it goes through a fuse, which is this one here, and then onto two inductors, and then onto the first MOSFET. So we just need to make sure that this 20.44 volts is also making it to this point here. So I place my probe and measure once again, and I find there is 20.44 at this point also. So that brings us to our first MOSFET. I've been going into pretty painstaking details on these. I think everybody gets the idea of what way they're meant to work at this stage, so I think I might just skip on through these and just see if we have the main power rail. But this is the MDS3046 is our first MOSFET. So that's an N-channel MOSFET, and this one is a 4455 because it ends in an odd number. It's a P-channel MOSFET. But whether they're N-channel or P-channel MOSFETs at this point on the input, we should be expecting to see the input voltage from the charger here and through to here also if these two MOSFETs are switched on. So what I'm going to do, we know we've got 20.44 here, so we've got these on these 4 pins of this MOSFET right here. So I'm going to check and see if we have the same at this point. So once again, volts DC 20 volt range, I place my probe here and I find that we also have 20.44 volts at this point, so I'm going to mark that in. So we're getting voltage through the first MOSFET, and we just need to make sure then that that 20.44 volts is coming through this P-channel MOSFET to this point right here. So once again, I place my probe here, I'm measuring volts DC, and our 20.44 is also coming through. So what it looks like here is our 20 volt main power rail is good. So if we're not getting any light, then it seems like we may have a problem with our 3.3 volts always on. We're just not getting any response at all. Now that could have been because there's no power coming into it at all, but we've now established that our 20 volt main power rail is present. So it's got to be something wrong with, well, you would be thinking that if there's no light at all, then there's no 3.3 volts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the datasheet for this, and I'm going to try and find out which chips are responsible for our 3.3 volts always on and our 5 volts always on. Usually they are in a package, a QFN package that looks like, if we got any here, yeah, they usually come in a package something like this. But on this model of laptop it's slightly different, and I'm going to show you that in a second. As it actually happens, that chip that I was pointing to in the last section of the video is actually a BQ, I think it's 737, which is coincidentally the chip that we were doing in the last video. That's the battery charge controller. So when I got the data sheet for this, I was able to quite easily find which chip is responsible for the 3.3 volts always on and the 5 volts always on. So this is the chip right here. It's marked on the board as PU401. What I do to identify in the data sheet is just find out how it's referred to. It's usually something like plus 3 VALW for 3 volts always on. I put that in and I search it, and then I find out which chip has, you know, 3 volts on the output and essentially 20 volts on the input. So what we can do here is we can do two things. We can measure at this inductor here, which is PL401, and make sure that we have our 20.44 volts from our main power rail, which should be the input to this chip. And then we can measure the output, and it seems like there's a jumper on the output which will make it easy to measure. So that's PJ401. So we should be getting our plus 3.3 volts always on at this point if that voltage is present. We can also do the same for our 5 volts always on. PU402 is responsible for that. We have PL403, which is the inductor that carries the main 20.44 volts onto this chip, so we should be getting 20.44 volts here. And on the output of this chip there is also a jumper at this point, PJ402, and we should be able to measure 5 volts here also. So when I go back to the motherboard and we zoom out a little bit and move down the board, we see, okay, you recognize anything here? Now unfortunately somebody had a heat gun and some flux at these, and they didn't come out great in the photos. As you can see, there's a lot of shine and you can't really make out the proper detail on it, but we're going to work with it anyway. So you can see right here PL401, and where is the other one? PL403 is here. PU402 is our chip here. PU401 is our other chip. So this whole section here is to do with producing our 3.3 volts always on, and this little section here is to do with the production of our 5 volts always on. So what we need to do first is measure and verify that we're getting our 20.44 volts on the input here and on the input here. So once again, introducing my red probe and my black probe and my digital multimeter in 20 volts range. I place my black probe to ground, which I'm just going to get from the capacitor here. So I'm going to place it to the ground side of that capacitor. Ground is everywhere. And when I place my probe to this inductor right here, I get 20.44. So our main power rail is available, and it is coming to the input section for PU401, which is our 3.3 volts always on. Similarly, I place my probe here and I find that there's 20.44 volts at this point also. So our main power rail is present at our input to our 5 volts always on. Let's just get a look at that on our data sheet here. So where I'm measuring right there is PL403 and PL401, and we're measuring 20.44 volts at this point and 20.44 volts at this point. So the next thing to do is to measure the outputs. We know the input voltage for both chips is good, but we need to check and make sure that the 3.3 volts always on is on the output of PU401, and our 5 volts always on is on the output of PU402. I've marked on the motherboard here just that we're getting 20.44 volts on both of these inductors. So the next thing we need to check is the outputs. So what's happening here is we have our 20 volt main power rail is coming into this chip here, and the output of this chip is meant to be 3.3 volts. So when I measure the output, we have a nice point here where we can measure either on the inductor or the jumper here. But when I measure here, there's 0 volts at this point. So something is happening that our 3.3 volts always on, which should be present anytime it's plugged in, it's not coming on. So there is some issue here. Similarly, when I check here, which is the 5 volts always on power, there's nothing here also. So something is happening to cause our 3.3 volts always on power and our 5 volts always on power to not turn on. So we have 20.44 volts coming into both of these ICs on the inputs. So the question is, given that we have a proper input voltage, why have we no output voltage? So this could be for a number of reasons. This could be because this chip itself is blown. It could be that it's not getting the signal to switch on, or it could be because there's a short on the output. So maybe it is turning on then immediately shutting off because it's drawn too much current. So the next step I wanted to try was just to make sure at this point here, which is the output of this chip, that there is no short circuit. So I plugged out the laptop completely. I find a ground here with my red probe this time. I switch my multimeter to diode mode, and I take a check here. So when I checked at this point here, I got a measurement of 0.3 volts. So that's not a short circuit. Similarly, when I measured here, I got 0.306 volts. So that's not shorted either. So it doesn't look like whatever issue is causing it is down to a short circuit. But the next thing I wanted to do was just to see if there's anything on this chip, any sort of an enable pin, and just to see if that was getting the correct voltage to tell the chip to turn on. So I had a look to see if I could find a data sheet, and I found one. Okay, the data sheet I found is pretty much the same as what we have on our schematic here, so I'm going to just persist with the schematic for the moment. But as you can see, PU401 has an enable pin on pin 1. Now that pin is 3 volt, 5 volt enabled, so you'll see on this one here, these are actually tied together. So the same signal that switches on PU401 to generate the 3 volt always on is the same signal that's used to generate the 5 volt. So when I went back to the motherboard and checked for this signal with the laptop powered on, I found that this was 0 volts and it's meant to be high. I'm not sure exactly what it's meant to be, but it's not meant to be 0. So it seemed the issue is that there is no enabled signal to either of these chips, and that is the reason that they are not switching on, and the reason that we don't have our 3.3 volts always on and our 5 volts always on. So our enabled voltage is missing, and this is why I think our chips are not turning on. So what can I do? Well, what I wanted to try here was just see if I inject a voltage onto our enable pin and see if I can manually switch them on. So I got my DC power supply and I connected my black wire to the ground and my red wire to pin 1 of PU401, which, as we've seen from the schematic, is the enable pin, and it's also connected to the enable pin of PU401. So I put 3.3 volts on this and I connected it. So with 3.3 volts being injected to the enable pin of both ICs, I then go back to my multimeter and in volts mode, 20 volts DC, I measured here and I got nothing still. It was something like 200 millivolts or something like that. However, when I went to the other side here and probed the 5 volts always on, this was now online. So providing the enable voltage to this chip, this came online and I had 5 volts right here. However, there still seems to be an issue with this section here. So what could that issue be? Well, the issue could be that the IC itself is gone, or that there's something wrong further down on this part of the circuit. So what options are available to me now? Well, the next thing I wanted to try was to inject with my DC power supply 3.3 volts at this position right here. As we established already, we have 20.44 volts as our input to PU401, and PU401 is meant to produce our 3.3 volts always on voltage, but is not doing so. So just in case the chip itself has actually got an issue, I'm going to manually provide that 3.3 volts always on and see what happens. So here's my DC power supply once again. We connect our black wire to ground and our red wire to PJ401, and using a voltage of 3.3 volts. When I connected this, I immediately found that it was drawing 90 milliamps, which I thought was quite high given that there was nothing switched on. I hadn't pressed the power button yet, I hadn't done anything yet, it was still drawing 90 milliamps. So I checked then around the board for that voltage, including beside the EC chip and the power button, but what I found was that 3.3 volts was being pulled down to 3.01 volts, which did not seem right. So it seems like although there is not a short on that 3.3 volts always on, it seems like something is pulling the voltage down, and that is what is causing the chip to essentially shut itself off. To try to find out what was pulling that 90 milliamps, I first disconnected this inductor here to make sure that it wasn't going back through this IC, but this had nothing to do with it. Even with this inductor here pulled out, it was still drawing 90 milliamps. I disconnected the power button and anything else that could be connected from the 3.3 volts always on rail, but nothing else made any difference. Now the difficulty I had at this point was that usually in this scenario the fault can be because of this Super I/O chip right here, which is on the other side of the board, and unfortunately I don't have one of these spare that I can put in a position. Plus it's a fairly painstaking job, so unfortunately at this point I had to call the job a no fix and just move on to something else. So that's where I ended up with this job. Hopefully there's just a little more in this to build on what we're doing on the other videos. Like, I don't think these videos are perfect by any means, but what I'm trying to do is build a video for every different scenario where we go through it logically and very clearly. Obviously this one is not going to be as clear because the images are not as good, but I guess the more I practice at them the better I'm going to get. But that's the intention for these types of videos. So it's a no fix this week. Hopefully something a little more interesting and a little more successful next week. I'll talk to you then.